Hello, this is Bill Crombie with the Algebra Project, and we want to do a run-through to share with you some of the main points that we talked about in Saturday's webinar. As you can see from the PowerPoint, our topic was really how we can help students make sense of mathematics and mathematical problems. And if you're using the math challenges, this is particularly important because insofar as the math challenges are structured in terms of the Common Core standards, as you know, the Common Core standards is really calling for a higher level of performance for students in terms of making sense of mathematical problems, persevering, staying with the mathematical problem really till they understand it and eventually solve it. So during this seminar, we wanted to focus on one of the issues around making sense of mathematics and mathematical problems. And we looked at this kind of anatomy of a mathematical challenge really at the planning stage. And what we wanted to do was to target a particular challenge. We were using one from the 6th grade entitled Field Trip to the Zoo. And we thought that it would be good for us as a group to discuss some of the central mathematical concepts in that challenge, and really from the perspective of sense making. How do we make sense out of particular mathematical concepts? For this webinar, we're really focusing on, in a sense, the Common Core mathematical practices, and in particular, the first mathematical practice that's goes by the name of making sense of problems and persevering in them. There was a framework for this discussion which comes from a mathematician and psychologist, Richard Stemp, who made, I think back in the 70s, an important distinction between different types of understanding. And he had characterized them in terms of two basic types of understanding. One which he called instrumental understanding, which is basically a situation where students have rules without the reasons behind them, right? And the second type of understanding he referred to as relational understanding, where the focus is really on the concepts, the meanings behind the rule, which help students make sense of the rule and its application. So we've targeted, as I said, this one of the mathematical challenges, and we want to look at that challenge with respect to this notion of both instrumental understanding and relational understanding. The challenge that we've decided to use is this one. It's from grade 6, Field Trip to the Zoo. And one of the things that happens in this challenge is students are given some data on students, boys and girls in a class, and the boys and girls in this class are asked to vote on their favorite animal. And they're given 3 choices: an elephant, a monkey, and a zebra. Doing the actual challenge, we took a similar vote just to generate the data that we talked about. And we examined that data in terms of 3 notions of the center of a data set. And, you know, at this point, everybody's heard of them: mean, median, and mode. And students generally know or should know how to compute right? Those three concepts as a measure of the center, as a way of describing the center of the data. What we were focusing on was the meaning of those three concepts, because that discussion actually doesn't happen as often as the discussion around the simple computation of these concepts. So let me show you some data. I've put together 5 scores, which is just meant to serve as an example for this video. So I've produced these 5 scores, and they may be test grades, but let's just consider them scores in general. And I made a little bar graph for them. So we have 40, a value of 40, 70, 70, 80, and 90. And from the discussion, we didn't use this data set. I'm using this for purposes of illustration. But from Saturday's discussion, people pointed out, well, when you're talking about the mode, it's the most frequent score. So the mode of this distribution, this set of scores is 70. And the median was also clear. If you count in from the top and the bottom of the data, come into and come into, this value of 70 corresponds to the median of the distribution. That's another sense of the middle of the distribution. But what to focus on is this notion of the mean or the average. To get the mean or the average, what we all know is you take the 5 scores, you total them to 350, and you divide by the number of scores, 5, and that gives us a mean of 70, or an average of 70. And the focus of this was, as a mathematical concept, how does that procedure correspond to giving you a sense of the middle of the data? And so that's what the picture on the right-hand side is about. And this is, we can view this in a couple of ways. If we total the scores and divide by 5, in a sense, what we're doing is taking that total and distributing it evenly across the 5 scores. So you see here, the 40 would come up to 70, 70, 70. I would have to remove 1 score from the 80 and 2 scores from the 90 to get a flat distribution where all the scores are the same. And if you notice, in order to get this flat distribution, the comparison of 70 to the scores which are above, the 80 and the 90, it's a total of 30, is exactly the same as the comparison to the scores, in this case the score, which is below the mean, which is 40, and I have 40 is 30 below the mean. So the mean and the average are giving a particular way of finding the center of a data set. And that center has to do with a comparison to all the scores which are above that mean position and all the scores which are below that mean position. So this, I think, is important because one of the things that traditionally happens in the classroom, students are very aware, right, to the average or the mean. I add up all the scores and I divide by the number of scores that I have. Students are not so aware of what that average means and the particular way in which the average characterizes the middle of the center of scores. So this idea of what the mathematical concept means in this particular case, what what the notions of the mean and the average, right, what the mean means, was the main point that we wanted to kind of get home on Saturday's seminar. I would be interested in any comments, ideas people have about how either these ideas or similar ideas or, play out in your classroom. I think, as I said, this is a central concern of Common Core, that students are not only able to perform a given procedure, such as taking the average of, a set of numbers, but also have a basic understanding of what the average means. And I will look for your comments on Facebook. Thank you.